can I say that I love the fact of us covering like different reading orders? And the reason why, because sometimes out of nowhere, you may or may not discover some different stories out there you never heard of. Like, for example, the whole idea of this one right here, when it comes to Amazing Spider-Man issues number 161 and 162. Now, this is another two-part story arc involving Spider-Man, but also involving the Punisher as well. But somebody else. It's Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler, Spider-Man, and the Punisher all in one book. Like I said, sometimes you never hear these stories at all until much later on in your life, because this came out a long time ago. So I kind of want to sit down, go ahead and cover this two-part story arc. And so as we get into the opening pages of the storyline, we're really picking up with, well, Nightcrawler, Wolverine, and Colossus. Now, for these three characters, they're currently just, at school, chilling, minding their business. Now, while you have Nightcrawler trying to read the newspaper, something catches his eye. And of course, it does make a tad bit upset. But you didn't have Wolverine attack Nightcrawler. Now, with Logan doing that, he was just playing around. But unfortunately for Nightcrawler, as he tries to catch his balance, unfortunately, he rips the newspaper that he was ripping as he was reading. And so for Nightcrawler, he does get a tad bit more upset with Logan. But for Nightcrawler, he has something really more important to focus on. And apparently, it's all because of what he read in that newspaper. But now we have to switch over to Spider-Man, good old Peter Parker. Now, for Peter, he's on a date with Mary Jane. And you have Liz and Harry there as well, but still, the main focus is him and Mary Jane. Now, of course, the good old Parker luck. While you have Parker out there trying to, spend some time with Mary Jane, he realized somebody just got sniped right in the head while they were riding the roller coaster. So for Peter, he has to leave and go ahead and change into his Spider-Man outfit once again. Now, of course, he does tell Mary Jane, like, I gotta get pictures. But in reality, it's the whole idea that he gotta go be Spider-Man. Now, we do learn what's going on with Nightcrawler here, right? For Nightcrawler, the reason why he was so upset earlier, because in the newspaper, it was talking about his friend Eric Huffman, who had just died recently. And for Nightcrawler, he heard that Eric was in the area, but he's been so busy that he was unable to see his friend at all. But unfortunately, his friend is now dead. For Nightcrawler, he is right now in the same area that Spider-Man is at as well. And so, of course, for Nightcrawler, he heard the sniper shot. Now, for Kurt, he does locate where the shot came from and where most likely the shooter is at. The problem is that when he gets there, the shooter is gone, but the weapon was left behind. But of course, you also have Spider-Man arrive there as well. Now, around this time in Marvel Comics, I still want to say that you had people believe that Peter Parker, Spider-Man, was the one who had killed off Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin. He had died off the first time ever in Marvel Comics. Because as you all know, characters always die, come back some crazy way. Anyways, though, when it comes to Spider-Man, when he does arrive, he begins to fight against Nightcrawler, because you have both characters not really being able to sit down and explain things to one another. And so, of course, you have both guys kind of believe like the other person is the actual sniper, the actual killer. Now, after a few pages, you do have Nightcrawler being able to get away from Spider-Man by using his ability to teleport. So just like that, there goes Nightcrawler. Now, here's the thing, because right after that, you didn't have Spider-Man go over to where he left his camera behind, because again, he took a bunch of photos for the Daily Bugle. Now, while he's leaving, Nightcrawler saw Spider-Man pick up the camera. He's kind of like, hold up, I need that camera back now. And so then you have Peter Parker head over to the Daily Bugle. Now, when he does, it's not really him trying to get, the pictures turned in. It's more of like, hey, you know what? I need some information. So why not go over to Robbie Robertson? And so when he does, he's able to ask Robbie like, hey, what's the 411 about what happened earlier where I was at? And you have Robbie tell Spider-Man like, hey, listen, I got word on the street is that it was the Punisher. Now, around this time in Marvel Comics, the Punisher was really more like a Spider-Man character. He only appeared in Spider-Man comics. So for Peter, he definitely knows who the Punisher is, and he leaves. Now, while he's leaving, J. Jonah Jameson also sees Spider-Man in there as well. Now, for JJ, earlier in Spider-Man's timeline, he had received some random photos, and these photos basically contain Spider-Man disposing the dead body of his clone. Now, of course, as we all know, the clone is not dead. It comes back as Ben Reilly down the road in the Clone Saga. But for JJ, he wants to use these photos, but also other plans to finally get rid of Spider-Man. Now, that is when we jump over to the Punisher. And this is how the Punisher truly does get into the storyline, because the Punisher also heard that there's somebody out there who's basically pretending to be him. So you have the Punisher find a guy known as Snake Eyes. And with him finding Snake Eyes, it's kind of like, hey, dude, listen, I'm going to need you to tell me who's out there trying to pretend to be me. Now, of course, for the Punisher, he does not get the answer of who it is, but he does learn where that person's going to end up next. And so for Peter, while out there still being Spider-Man, he begins to think about the Punisher. Now, here's the thing, because of Spider-Man, he's kind of like the Punisher would never kill off an innocent person. Like, I know the guy. I met the guy like 3 times by this point in Marvel Comics. Now, while you have Spider-Man thinking of the Punisher, he does get jumped by Nightcrawler. Now, here's the reason why Nightcrawler wants the camera from Spider-Man for. You see, on that camera is pictures of Nightcrawler. And around this time in Marvel Comics, the brand new, all-new X-Men had just arrived. So Wolverine, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Storm, right after Giant Size X-Men #1. And so for Nightcrawler, he wants to make sure the world does not know the new X-Men team. And so you do have Nightcrawler being able to get the jump on Spider-Man, grab the camera, and destroy the film on the camera that Peter had. And of course, it does lead into another battle between these two characters. Now, while you do have Spider-Man and Nightcrawler fighting against one another, the Punisher arrived, because that location that Nightcrawler and Spider-Man are currently at is the same location that Snake Eyes told the Punisher where the killer would be at. And so, of course, once again, it's the Punisher believing like, Spider-Man is possibly the killer. But also on top of that, it's kind of like, wait, it could be Spider-Man or possibly Nightcrawler as well. And so, of course, as we get into the second chapter of this storyline, we do pick up with, well, the Punisher trying to fight against Spider-Man and also Nightcrawler. Now, here's the thing about this 3-way battle, because as the battle goes on, you didn't have our heroes kind of realize they're all completely innocent. Like, hey, it's not Spider-Man, it's not the Punisher, it's not Nightcrawler, it's somebody else. But the problem is that while you do have our heroes kind of realize, like, hey, it's not one another, it also means like they now had to sit down, try to figure out who is the actual killer. Like, who is trying to come after Spider-Man, Punisher, and Nightcrawler, or possibly just the Punisher? Who's trying to frame the Punisher? And so you do have Nightcrawler leave, but you do have Spider-Man and Punisher agree to meet up later on to figure out who is the real sniper. So while you do have Spider-Man and Punisher go their separate ways, we're also kind of setting up things to come down the road in later books for Amazing Spider-Man. Like, for example, because you have Peter ditch Mary Jane to go figure out who was the sniper, Mary Jane had somewhat moved on over to Flash Thompson. Now, of course, as we all know, it ain't gonna last. But for Peter, he's kind of like, dang, I lost my chance with Mary Jane. But getting back over to J. Jonah Jameson, we see him right now meeting up with a Dr. Marla Madison. Now, when it comes to Dr. Madison, she is an electrobiologist. And the thing is right now for JJ, he kind of wants to use her as a way to help him to figure out, to find a way to kill off Spider-Man, of course. And for some strange reason, she's kind of like, you know what? Tell me more. Tell me more about this crazy plan of yours. I'm kind of like, why in the world would she agree that easily to, of course, go after Spider-Man? And so now we jump back over to the Punisher and also Spider-Man. You now have the two characters beginning to work together. Now, for these two characters, they agreed to figure out who is the real sniper. Now, I'm going to go ahead and skip over like a few pages. And the reason why, because I kind of want to go ahead and get into the big reveal. Like, who is this character behind the scenes? Because this character will be very important for, well, the Punisher. You see, it is Jigsaw. It's Jigsaw right now trying to get revenge against the Punisher for what the Punisher did to his face. And of course, as you can see, he did a pretty good job messing up Jigsaw's face. Now, unfortunately, we don't get the full origin between Punisher and Jigsaw until later books down the road. For right now, this was the first appearance ever for the character of Jigsaw. But you did have Spider-Man get captured by Jigsaw and his guys, and so of course, it's now time for the Punisher to figure out how to save Spider-Man's life. Now, let's not forget, this story also involved Nightcrawler as well. So you did have Nightcrawler appear to help out Spider-Man and the Punisher. And really, the last few pages of this storyline is really more of us just seeing Spider-Man, Punisher, and also Nightcrawler working together to fight against Jigsaw and his henchmen, which they were able to do very easily. And so the book does close on that note right there, with all three characters going their separate ways. And so with that being said, guys, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.